Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review John in the Hole. And this is a new psychological thriller from IFC, directed by Pasquale Sisco and written by Nicholas Jacobone. And this film focuses on this young boy named John, played by Charlie Shotwell, and he is this weird, he's one of those kids that doesn't really fit in. He is very isolated. His family doesn't necessarily connect with him. His father, Michael C. Hall, mother, Jennifer Ehle, sister, Taissa Farmiga. And you have this dynamic where he's very distant and disconnected from them. And he finds this random hole, this unfinished bunker out in the woods around his home. And by chance, he sees their gardener get bit by this spider, and he gets, knocked out. And then John's gears are turning, and he's like, but what if I put my family in this hole? And he kidnaps his family, throws them in this hole, which, how that kid did all that to all three of them in the middle of the night, good for that kid. He must be, 20 times as strong as he looks. But you have this dynamic where they're stuck in this hole, and you have them trapped there trying to process why their son's doing this. He won't talk to them. He occasionally drops off food, stuff like that. And he's, the rest of this film kind of turns into, a warped, twisted Home Alone, where it's just imagine if Kevin McAllister did this to his family so that he could be home alone. And he's trying to hide. There's tension there. One of the mother's friends is like, but where are your parents? What happened? She calls the cops. She checks in on them. You have these scenes where they're building this tension, and you have these scenes where John has his friend over. He's driving around in a car. They're doing this very dangerous game where it's see how long they can hold their breath underwater and get holed under until they see something. And there's a lot of close calls of building tension. Sisco does a great job in terms of building up that potential expectation that something might be wrong here. And Katerina Barberi, who does the score, and Paul Osger, who does the cinematography, they all work together to really build up this tension and suspense in these scenes. It's is he going to hurt his friend? What's he going to do in this situation? What's he going to do to his mother's friend? Is he going to do anything else? And you have him going through this process. Narratively, there's not a whole lot of drive to it. It's once they're in the hole, there's scenes where the family have this dynamic with each other where they're trying to process things and grow as people. And then you have John, who's doing all these unnerving and uncomfortable things, but there's no specific building to a certain point until it's just there. And they've reached this point, he's reached this point, and it's just where things go from there. And I'm not going to talk about that specifically because we don't want to give away the ending of the movie. But it takes a while and a lot of energy to get to that point where it's something happens. For a vast majority of this film, there's no action going on. There's no driving force to something. And it could get repetitive. It could get a little just slow and overly methodical in the way that it's just presenting these things. But by the end, you're just when are we gonna move forward? When are we gonna take the next step in the story? By the time it does, I don't know if it felt fully satisfying in a way, but there's a lot of character work, there's great filmmaking, there's suspense, overall strong performances or solid performances. I feel like Ehle and Farmiga do a really good job. Michael C. Hall does a solid job as this dad. They don't have a whole lot of depth, especially the father feels very much just he's that hard-nosed dad. And then you have Charlie Shotwell as John, who he is creepy and unnerving. I don't know if it's a really dynamic performance or not, but this film has potential, has really strong pieces, but I don't know if it really feels fully fleshed out and fully realized in what it was trying to do. So by the end, it doesn't feel as satisfying as it could be. But you still get some of those thrills out of it, that suspense, that tension, and that might be worth enough for you to check out this new film. So you'll have to figure that out for yourself. But those are my thoughts on John in the Hole. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.